Kerrville was just one town hit by this catastrophic flooding. Families across the hill country in Texas between San Antonio and Austin are facing what could be years of recovery and rebuilding. That includes the community of Jonestown, just north of Austin. Creeks there began to burst their banks early Saturday morning, and for some families, the only way out was through the help of strangers. Matthew Crowder was one of those strangers. He saved Chrissy Eliashar and her kids from the rising water, and both Matthew and Chrissy join me now, along with Chrissy's 3 kids. You can see them there, Benny, Dove, and Mayan. Good to see all of you. Good to see some smiles on some of the kids' faces there. Matthew, I want to ask you first, because you were going to work, but you realized the business would be closed for the day. You were about to leave. What made you turn back and check on Chrissy's home?
It was just one of those gut feelings. I had seen how much it had risen in just the moments that I was there, and I'd actually, yeah, drove my car up to the main road, and then I had parked it there, and I just kind of walked back down. And when I had gotten back to where I was, it was that's when everything had happened.
And so what did you do? You started yelling at the home, or what did you see? Kind of walk me through what happened next.
And so I kind of had sat there for a second and just kind of saw and observed what was happening. And then I had called 911, and they had sent me to the fire dispatch. And he had explained to me that some people up the creek were calling for the same thing, and that they had just told them to stay in their homes. And just even during that phone call, it was just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And then I had just said, it's not looking good. I'm worried about the house. And in the middle of that phone call, I had started just shouting. And then I had taken the phone away from my ear. And that's when one of the boys had come out, and I was updating the dispatch as I was kind of having the conversation with the kid and Chrissy. And then once, the house had started groaning and I heard trees falling down, I just told them, hey, send help or not, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of when everything happened.
And Chrissy, so you were home with your 3 kids and one of their friends who was spending the night, all of them under 12 years old, as I can understand. What went through your head when you hear this stranger screaming at your home in the middle of the night?
Hi, Matthew. I'm getting teary-eyed
Hey.
seeing the pictures and seeing you again. It's
it's good to see you too.
it's he saved our life. Even these 2 days later, it's just short frames in my memory of terror and panic, and it happened so fast. And those pictures just remind me of the absolute panic. Like he said, we just started screaming, where is the police? Where's the fire department? I can't walk through this. And my kids were so brave, and they grabbed a dog under their arm, and no shoes, no shirt. And they walked through a raging river that formed under our house and started to carry our house away. We tried to get to our car, and my key thought I had a plan. And as soon as we looked at it, it floated away. And Matthew just kept screaming at us. And the only sensible things he could say, just keep walking this way, keep walking. And my aunt slipped and fell, my daughter, and nearly was washed away. And my son grabbed her and saved her by her hair. And he just kept telling us keep walking, and grabbed us and helped us get to just enough high ground to get to the next steps.
And I can't imagine that moment. Matthew, I actually read a little bit about that moment where you saw her slip and fall into the water, into the flood water. What were you thinking in that moment?
So yeah, definitely helpless, just because I was on one side of the chain link fence they had in their yard, and
Yeah.
kind of watching that happen. And even I believe one of the other boys had slipped too, and he had washed up against the car. And just seeing all this happen and not being able to get in there with them, at that moment, I thought I had made the mistake of getting them out of their house. And maybe, I should have just listened, and that, I had just made a mistake.
Well, I don't think at this point you made a mistake. Chrissy, you're living proof with your kids. And I know I know there's been a lot going on, but it sounds like you all haven't had the chance to really connect after this has happened. Chrissy, is there anything you just would like to say to him while we've all got the floor here?
Matthew, you're our angel on this earth, and I, I hope soon we have a house we can invite you for dinner and reconnect. You've really saved our lives, and you made the right decision. Thank you.
And Chrissy, I should ask too, just how are your kids doing?
They are amazing. They are so brave and so strong, and we're just, trying to reach out and ask our community for help and ask the world for help. And we need to get a roof over these kids' heads. We lost everything. We don't have flood insurance, our car, our house, all their things. It's all gone. So they're really amazing and brave, and they're doing as good as possible.
Yeah. Things can be replaced. I'm glad you all at least have each other. And Matthew, man, incredible bravery. Really appreciate you taking the time. And I could just say, man to man, thank you for what you did. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
And Chrissy's family does have a GoFundMe where anyone can donate as well. So look that up as well. Meanwhile, the scope of the disaster in Texas is renewing scrutiny over budget cuts at the National Weather Service. The agency says staffing reductions did not impact forecasting here, and the White House is defending the performance of the National Weather Service.
Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred.
AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish joins me now. So Jeff, look, I know you've heard the criticism, but can you evaluate the response from the National Weather Service for us? Did they send out the warnings with enough time?
My opinion is that they did. And Omar, we had a really challenging timing for this event here. The fact that the flash flooding escalated between midnight and 4 a.m., it's no excuse. We live in a country with the absolute best warning system in the world, and we have redundancies. There is the technology that offers cell phone alerts. Sometimes that doesn't work because people may not have their cell phone with them. Maybe they're in a rural area. The good old-fashioned NOAA weather radio has strong coverage in Kerr County, Texas. There's a transmitter in Kerrville. It covers the county well. And that's old technology. It's been upgraded with what we call SAME technology. If people buy a NOAA weather radio, look for that SAME, S-A-M-E reference. And almost all of them sold now have that. And that will give you a localized alert. And it will wake you up if you have a NOAA weather radio on. We always preach the AccuWeather app. Those notifications get out as fast as possible. Obviously, that does require a cell phone signal. But also, this is just such a challenging thing in terms of timing. But keep in mind, there was a flash flood watch issued back the preceding day on Thursday, the 3rd of July at 1:14 p.m. Or 1:48 p.m. So that was kind of the heads up that if you're if you are responsible for the well-being of other people, it's not the night to disconnect from the weather. We have to stay connected. When there's a watch issued, that's the get ready, and then the warning is the go. This is such a challenging story here, partly because of the timing, and I realize this is a difficult, highly inconvenient time to evacuate. Sadly, some people probably just had to travel 50 yards up the hill instead of 7 miles down the road and away from the river. There needs to be a better way to do this. And my wife and I, we picked our children up from a summer camp in Pennsylvania on Friday. And this is a call to action to anybody responsible for the well-being of other children. Maybe you run or manage an RV park, whether you're in a tornado-prone area or an area along a flood bank or a place that's flood-prone. It's extraordinarily important to stay connected, whether it be a direct line to local emergency management, whether it be the NOAA weather radio, the cell phone. I think the answer is all these things. At AccuWeather, we have clients of many different types of businesses, camps, and so forth that pay to get immediate alerts from our team, where there are people awake at AccuWeather monitoring, and they'll make the phone call to speak to somebody and make sure that they're aware as well.